Hey Harley, it's Coach Benlin here. Just breaking down some of your swings from the December sessions. I know you missed the last session, but just going to go through some of the clips we have from the other sessions. I tried to take all my notes and put it into a document that I could send you, just so it can help with the terminology and the language that we're using here. I could pull that up now. So I'll walk you through some of my ideas as far as improvements and adjustments, and then we'll take a look at some video clips, and then I have a couple things from Twitter and YouTube I want to show you as well. So as far as improvements, things that I'm seeing definitely areas that you're developing in and things we like. Um, Talking about the upper half at first. I like that you have a very quiet upper body. You have relaxed, loose, quick muscles. You have minimal head movement, which is great. You're seeing the ball well. I want to make sure this translates into games as well because I feel like sometimes you get a little tense while you're up there. But in the clip, all the clips I'm watching, I mean, you're very fluid and smooth, and it's definitely going to work out well for you going forward. Looking at the lower half, right, we want to make sure that we're continuing to land closed. I know you've been focusing on that. I could see the improvements through the weeks on the video. Working on landing with that front foot at 45 degrees or less, right? Keeping that whole front side closed all the way up the chain, starting with the foot to the knee, hip, shoulder, and up to the head. You're doing a much better job of that throughout the December sessions. Overall, your balance and your approach, you're on time, right? You're staying, you know, within your center of gravity, staying on a midpoint. You're not drifting too much. A couple times in the video, and I'll show you, you kind of get off on the front foot a little bit, but for the most part, you have a good balance and you're making solid contact consistently, which is definitely going to translate in game. Talking about the pitch recognition piece, we talk about breaking the plate into thirds. We've been doing that the past few sessions. Hitting the ball where it's pitched, right? Jumping on that inner half, recognizing early, dropping the barrel on it. Um, middle, staying up the middle, hitting the L screen, right? Seeing the outer half a little deeper, being able to go to opposite field. And we like the phrase, hitting all pitches and all counts to all fields. And that's definitely something I think that you're doing pretty well right now. And we want to continue going forward with that. As far as adjustments, and I'll send you this PDF over with the video. We talk about being in an athletic stance. I know you and I worked on this last time, and I see you working on it. I want to make sure that you're staying athletic right throughout the swing. You're not standing upright and losing power. Keeping the shoulders over the toes. Little knee bend in the back knee. Sitting in your hips, staying in rhythm. We don't want to be stagnant and static. Right. We talked about the analogy of the race car driver, right, waiting for the green light at the line, foot on the pedal, revving the engine, ready to go. You want to make sure that when it comes time for you you know, to get your body moving as you're tracking the pitch, that you're ready to go. Right, you're not sitting on your heels, and that has to do with staying connected with the upper and lower half. Sometimes I feel like you kind of become disconnected, and I have a video, a Mike Trout video, I want to show you about that. But definitely staying athletic pre-pitch. Talking about the load in the lower half. We're continuing to work on generating more power. You're getting bigger and stronger, and we want to make sure that you're maximizing that energy and that torque while you track the ball in. That you're building tension in that back leg, that rear leg, sitting on the inside of the hip, right on the inside of the foot, building energy in that back hip, ready to release. And I want to talk about avoiding drift because looking at your videos off the tee, I think you do a great job of this, of generating. And then as we go to front toss and overhand, I feel like you kind of drift forward a little bit. And I'll show you the difference in the videos as well. Looking at the swing in the lower half, we want to continue to focus on building and releasing those hips, throwing the back hip forward, letting the hips pull the hands, and driving that back knee towards that front knee. Just getting more of that lower half. We know there's more energy, more power there, and we want to make sure that we're accessing it. Talking about the hand path, specifically the bottom hand. We talk about throwing the frisbee, pulling the knob through the zone. We want to make sure we're getting our knob leading the way inside and in front of the ball, and finishing that path of the bottom hand, right? Not just throwing it in our pocket, finishing out in front, palm up, palm down, extended in that power V, you know, towards the pitcher. And we'll take a look at that in the video in a second. So let's start with a video here. This is I think it's one of the cleanest rounds you had. It was actually in the middle of December. And here, let me open this up all the way and let it roll through. Let's take a look for some of those adjustments that we're talking about here. Like I said, I love the balance, not trying to do too much. Getting those hands back in the load pretty good. You know, this is before we were talking about that athletic stance. And you could see kind of a little bit upright, right? Not a lot of bend there, not a lot of sitting in the hips. I think there's more power, and I think your starting position, right, as you're tracking the pitch, I think I think you could generate a little more in that load. Keeping rhythm in the upper body, not resting that bad on the shoulder like sometimes you tend to do. Just being ready for the action. The front foot's a little cut off on this video, but you could tell this is earlier. You were opening up a little bit more on the front foot, and the hips were going early. But overall, they're pretty clean swings. And then I was watching video off the tee, and I noticed a little bit of a difference here, and I could show you here 1 second. So here's work off the tee, and I noticed that you were definitely generating a little more, staying back a little more. Let's take a look at this. And I think it has to do with you watching the pitch and drifting forward a little bit, whereas off the tee, it's on your time, right? And I think you'll see. I think definitely staying connected a little bit more, building more in the load because you have time, you're not being rushed. Yeah, just some good swings. We'll watch it back one more time. I like the rhythm in the load. Hands are getting back enough. Lower half looks great. Firm front side, little 90 bend in the back. Hips fully opening. And looking at the other video on the front toss, looks like you were drifting a little bit, ending up on your front side rather than staying back on that midpoint, staying balanced. Okay, there's another bunch of clips I wanted to look at here, but let's keep in mind some of those adjustments that we're talking about, and just to reference them. Right, watching for that back knee, driving that back knee, avoiding the drift. We just looked at the tee versus the front toss and staying connected. But definitely in the next video, let's watch the extension, right, finishing, and we say finishing through 3 baseballs. Let's take a look at that. This is one of the later ones. A little out in front there, a little early. Better timing there. Watch the extension though. I think there's definitely more room for extension. I think it has to do a little bit with the bottom hand. It's a good swing right there though. Finishing that swing. See the load. Hands back. See how he's kind of upright a little bit. Yeah, a little top hand dominant there. It kind of dominates the bottom hand. The bottom hand runs away. I think you could finish with that bottom hand a little more. We'll talk about the frisbee drill in a minute. Finishing with that bottom hand, letting it lead the way, getting it inside in front of the baseball. Okay. Some things on Twitter and YouTube I wanted to show you. It's a Mets hitting coach I really like, Trey Hannum, and he posted something I thought was pretty interesting. I thought it was good for you to see. Make sure this is clear here. Okay. This is Mike Trout. I know comparing to Mike Trout, right? But look at him as he as he tracks this ball in. Look at his hip level to start, right? See how he's sitting down on those hips a little bit, making sure there's pressure into the ground, both feet, right? He's a little wider in his stance, but he's definitely utilizing that lower half. And I like that in this video, he's definitely showing staying connected between the upper half and the lower half, right? As that front foot's ready to come down, you could tell all that energy, all that torque, that tension he's building is ready to snap forward and come forward. He's going to drive that back knee through the front knee, throw his hips, and let his hands, pull through the zone there. And I'll show you a video of him and a side by side in a second. I'll show it right now, actually. Here's him and Mookie Betts, two guys that really use that lower half. Right there. I mean, look at Mookie jumping out with that back foot, throwing his hips, full 90, right? And watch their key on their back feet right here. With a starting point, they all drift forward. Both of them tend to leave the ground, even they're throwing so much with that back foot, driving that back knee through that front knee, letting the hips go. Yeah, these are two of the best. So we want to make sure that we're accessing, I'll show one more time, that power that we're generating, storing it in the back hip, in our load, and then transitioning it into our swing. If we stand upright, we're going to leak that energy out, lose some power, and make sure we finish our swing through the ball. These are pretty good. Okay. Talking about that bottom hand, one of the last things I want to do right here. We want to make sure that we're finishing that bottom hand, finishing the swing, finishing the hand path. We can isolate that in the next session with the one-handed bat, really work on some bottom hand stuff. But we talk about throwing the frisbee. I want to make sure you know what I'm talking about when I say that. This is a drill that some guys do. I think it'll help you just to see, fully extending with that bottom hand, letting it lead the way. Here, I'll show a side view in a second. Goes from that load position, hand back, through the zone, and finishing up and out with a big finish. Sometimes your top hand dominates, you roll over into your pocket. So here's a good view here on the side here, how we want to finish with that bottom hand. We say throwing the frisbee, leading with that knob, pulling it through the zone, right? Making sure it's back to start, which you're pretty good at. And then as it comes through the zone, leading with it, and then definitely extending and finishing out in front. Letting the top hand just be in support there. But definitely things we'll work on in the next hitting session. So just to review before I get you out of here, and I'll send this over your way. We like what you're doing as far as that quiet upper body, right? Nice, loose, fast, quick muscles, minimizing head movement, continuing to work on landing and staying close throughout the load. Keeping that approach, not trying to do too much, staying on time. Continuing with the pitch recognition, breaking the plate into thirds, hitting the ball where it's pitched, and the adjustments that we're going to continue with going forward. In the stance, right, staying connected between the upper and lower half, being athletic pre-pitch. In the load, trying to avoid that drift. We saw the two differences in the tee versus the front toss video. Continue to generate power building in our back hip and rear leg. Driving that back knee forward in our swing, releasing the hips, letting the hips do the work, pull the hands through the zone, and then just finishing that hand path, the bottom hand, the frisbee drill. Any questions you have about this, you can send me an email or bring it into the next session. I'll get back to you right away. Here's the contact information if you need it. And I look forward to our next session. I hope this helps. Any questions, just bring them in and we'll talk about them. Thanks, man.